On a certain day, Orangeade was made by mixing a certain amount of orange juice with an equal amount of water. On the next day, Orangeade was made by mixing the same amount of orange juice with twice the amount of water. On both days, all the Orangeade that was made was sold. If the revenue from selling the Orangeade was the same for both days, and if the Orangeade was sold at 60 cents per glass on the first day, what was the price per glass on the second day? This is yet another question that can be solved very simply. However, I would suggest understanding in an intuitive sense how an official explanation would work. And I've been trying to think about a good way to solve this in a way that's not just pure intuition, because it's not difficult to see how the price should decrease if we decrease the cost by a certain amount. But let's take a look at thinking about this a little bit more intellectually. Let's look at the ratio. So let's say if we have on day 1, we have a ratio of orange juice to water that is 1 to 1. That would be a total of 2. And on day 2, we have a ratio of orange juice to water that is 1 to 2. That would be a total of 3 units. And so if we're thinking about orange juice to total, that's going to give us a ratio of orange juice 1 to total 2. On the second day, we get orange juice 1 to a total of 3. If I'm going to do a question like this, it's probably useful for me to pick a number that divides easily by 2 and by 3. As much as I dislike picking numbers, and I think in many cases it's pointless on the GMAT, in this case it actually is pretty useful. So we'll pick a number that divides by 2, and for example, we'll just say there are 30 glasses sold. So each of those glasses, that's going to be 15 glasses of straight orange juice and then 15 glasses of straight water in the mixture. So our revenue would be 30 glasses total times 60 cents per glass, which is going to be 30 times 3/5. It's going to be $18 revenue. The revenue on the second day is going to be exactly the same, we're told in the question. However, we're going to have to calculate this from a different perspective. So we know there are 15 glasses of orange juice total, just the same as we had before. And then we have twice the water, so that's going to be 30 glasses total of water. So that means that we have 45 glasses total to sell. And we know that our revenue is going to be 18, because it has to be the same as this. So what that means is that that's going to be 45 glasses times some unknown X dollars per glass. And then all we have to do is figure out X as 18 over 45. So if we take the 9's out, that's going to give us 2 over 5, or $0.4 that we're charging for each glass. So our answer, of course, is D. Now, obviously, that's a lot of effort that we've gone to, and it's not something that can necessarily easily be done in under 2 minutes. What I would suggest you do rather than this is just to think about it a little bit more intuitively. And this is actually why I had some trouble coming up with an explanation of how to think about it from the intellectual standpoint, because doing it the intuitive way can almost be easier in many ways. So let's take a look at that. Ultimately, what we're doing, if we're looking at the ratio, is we started with a ratio of orange juice to water that was 1 to 1, right? So that's 2 units. Then we had an orange juice to water ratio that was 1 to 2. So that's going to be 3 units. So what we've done is we've actually increased the number sold by 1/3. So we're shifting 1/3 more units than we were before, which indicates that we can actually decrease the cost per unit by 1/3, provided that the revenue is equal. So because the revenue is equal, if we're increasing the number sold, we're decreasing the cost per unit by the same amount. So we know we're selling here at $0.6 per glass. So here we can feasibly decrease the cost per unit by the same amount. So we're decreasing by 1/3. And 2/3 of 0.6, a decrease of 1/3, is $0.4 per glass. Now, this only works because the revenue is the same and we're not considering any kind of middleman in there taking a commission or something like that. But if you're increasing the number of units and you are fine to keep the same revenue, then you can pass 100% of the savings in cost on to the client. So all you have to do, if you're increasing the number sold, is to decrease the cost per unit by the exact same amount. And in that case, the client gets a better deal and you get the same amount of money. And that's what this question is about.